I am joined today with Josh from Kansas. Josh, such a pleasure to have you. I appreciate you taking a few minutes to join me. One of the reasons that I wanted to reach out and bring Josh on was it's easy, and we hear stories all the time about someone that took the script, they took Kendra's template, they took the email, and they did it and they got a deal out of it. One of the things I like is I think Josh's approach is really unique and different from what we teach. And I don't want to just show you our point of view and hear success stories on how we're doing it, but I want to show you how individualizing and personalizing a system can really take it to the next level. So, Josh, you've been an advisor for, at the time of this recording, just a few months, just since August. And I really love your approach. So they hear from me all the time. I'd love to hear from them, from you. Talk about what you're doing, how you're approaching clients, and just kind of your overall workflow.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ryan. Um, you know, I do take I think a little bit different approach, and really it's just out of a mindset of self-preservation and trying to give as much time as I can back to my family and honor that. And so I've employed a few virtual assistants. And so with my virtual team, what I have them doing is they are actually, we're using LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and they filter. So I'll give them a target industry, say manufacturing, and they'll go and they'll filter that manufacturing list of names out of Sales Navigator. And then we use another tool called Seamless.ai, which is essentially like a contact information scraping. And it'll give you cell phone numbers and work office numbers and email addresses. And so we get all the contact info for those leads. And then the VAs have a script that I've given them, and have them. I start messaging. They start messaging the potential candidates, mostly SMS messaging. And then if we can't get their SMS or they're on like a do not call list, then we'll reach out to them through LinkedIn's InMail. Um, and again, that script that we're using, it's similar to what you had put out in a recent VIP call. And essentially, it's just starting a dialogue like, "Hey, have you heard of the ERCs, or did you know there's $26,000 that's available for your employees?" That's something very simple. We just ask them that question. We get a dialogue going. This is all the VAs that are doing this, and they're messaging back and forth. They start that conversation, and then if somebody hasn't, then right away they're prompting them to set a meeting and sending them my Calendly invite. And even if they have gotten the ERCs already, we congratulate them, say, "Man, that's awesome. So many of your peers haven't done that." And then we're expanding the dialogue to the other credits that are available: WOTC, R&D, cost segregation, the whole list. And really, saying, "Okay, well, that's awesome. You did it with these other people. Have you taken advantage of these ones as well?" And 9 times out of 10, they haven't. And so that, again, is helping to drive them towards an appointment. Now, I also have a consulting business. And so, what I do with GMG is just a small piece of that. And so,
Josh, I'm glad you're bringing that up. I always want to make sure people know, not only are we like okay with that, we pitch this as a major part of our business model. Is that what we really look at things is that you have a core business, a core offering, and what we really want to be is we want to be a way in the door, which is exactly what I think you're doing. You're going out there, and instead of being in, maybe a noisy space for a service, you're going and saying, "Okay, I'm going in with this other approach. I'm getting them in." And then, really building that relationship from there. I know you were getting ready to talk about that, but yeah, talk about that part of the process and how you take someone from ERC to your core service offerings.
Yeah. So, our really my discovery process is for my business writ large and everything that I do, as I'll usually start that discussion with them about what are your business pain points, where are you struggling. I'll ask them, how is business going, and just get them talking and taking good notes about how it's going on and where they're struggling. 9 times out of 10, it's a cash flow issue of some type, and that makes it really easy with your offering at GMG to say, look, like here's a way to get a quick win, right, and get some cash pretty fast. So I'll start with the tax credits, and so we'll dive in with the tax credits. We'll run them through the TMS, kind of give them an example of what's available to them. Maybe talk through some case studies of other companies that have gotten that tax credit. There's another GMG advisor. His name's Neil, and he turned me on to the example of just figuring out what their margins are, what their average sale is, and then what the front end sales equivalent of that is. And so I use that one often. So if you're a restaurant and you have 10% margins and your average burger sale is $10, if we can get you $100,000 in tax credit savings, that's equivalent to $1 million in front end burger sales. Right?
Yeah, no, I pause there for a second because I want to expand on that because it's such a powerful. I've used this a lot with clients over the years that when you're showing someone with any credit, hey, we're going to get you $200,000 or $300,000. You've got to unpack for them sometimes that, hey, this is the equivalent probably of a few million in sales. And what I mean by that is in order for a business owner to walk away with a net, let's just call it $100,000. Well, they probably had to have a net operating because there's taxes involved. So you've got a net operating, maybe you had to make, depending on your tax bracket, $150,000, $160,000 net operating. Then you got to ask yourself, what's your margin? And maybe they say, well, my margin is 10% or 23% or whatever the case is. Then you backwards do that math. And this is how you end up. And you say, listen, if we were sitting in this meeting and I could tell you that I could increase your gross sales by $2 million, would we be having this dialogue?
Yeah.
Because you'd have to do 2 million. So let me ask you, would it be easier? Another line I like to use. Would it be easier for you to increase your revenue by $2 million or for you to sign this? And this becomes that no-brainer because, Josh, I love that you are doing this because it unpacks for them what it would take for the business owner to actually get $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000 in net income in their pocket, which is what our programs are providing.
Yep. So it's back to the process, so before we have the call, I'm actually sending them a little 5-minute video that is kind of introducing it and talking about the pain points. And then I give them a case study and basically just say, hey, look, I'm really looking forward to our Zoom call where we're going to talk more about this. And I'm going to onboard you with the TMS. And then during the discovery, after I do my broader discovery, because I'm also asking questions about the other aspects of what my personal business does, usually the tax credits is the easy, quick win. And so at that point, I'll take them to my landing page and then have them log in on their computer and go right to it. And then we walk through it together. And then I'm asking them to put their credit card info in and sign up. So that way, my goal is before we get off the call, they get to that GMG booking link on the backside of the portal once they're inside, so that before we end the call, the discovery call, we've got the appointment set with, Jacqueline or Clark or whoever they're going to end up with. So
another thing you're doing there that's key that I want to really highlight is you're staying on with them while they go through the process. So many times I hear that, someone just gets dumped to a website, which is a valid process. You can do that. That's what it's designed for. But you're going to exponentially, improve your closing rate or conversion rate if you're staying on the phone with them. Now, the other reason to stay on with them is you can overcome an objection. And this is one that, everybody experiences from time to time. And we can go back and retarget the client through email campaigns and try to overcome this. But, Josh, I'm sure you encounter it like everybody. So you get to that last page and you're showing them, hundreds of thousands in benefit or whatever the case is, and it pops up and it says $19. I'm sure you're not immune to this. None of us are. How do you overcome the objection when, somebody says, wait, what? I was all on board when it was 300 grand me, but now you want 19 bucks,
Yeah.
and you want my credit card. It's kind of like, it's like asking for engagement on the first date a little bit. So how do you overcome that?
Yeah. So, usually I take them back to those pain points that they brought up. And I just say, like when we started this call, you said cash flow was an issue. When we went through the case studies and, that example, like the $1 million in front end sales, is the equivalent of, your $100,000 credit. Like, can I come back to that and I say, like, are you really, not willing to spend that kind of money, $20 or whatever their TMS cost is to get access to that? And I said, look, one single WOTC client is going to more than cover your, the cost of the TMS, like a new hire that qualifies. So, that's small. And if it's really ultimately that big of an objection, like I'll tell them, hey, look, I'll send you, the first 6 months or, whatever.
Yeah.
If it's $20 a month, I'll send you the, $120 for your first 6 months. And if it's really still not a value add, like cancel, man.
Yeah.
So, we're talking like hundreds of thousands of dollars and tying it back. I'll give a shout out to another GMG guy, if you'll allow me.
Yeah.
But there's an advisor, a GMG advisor, his name's Scott Wiederhold, and he actually does gap selling training. And I went through that for Scott and with him, and man, it changed the way that I approach how I talk to clients and prospects, and really helped me.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Josh, you're killing it. I appreciate. I love too that you're not like, this is my secret. It's my secret sauce. I mean, we reached out to you and said, hey, would you mind creating, yourself thousands of competitors that, don't worry, you won't, because not everybody will take the application time to do what you've done. But I hope people draw some tidbits from it. What I like the most is you've made it personal. You've taken what Neil said, what Scott said, what maybe Kendra said, and you've really went and built something, and that I applaud, and think you're doing a great job. And I really look forward to Neil, who you mentioned. Neil and I have been working together for probably 12, 15 years. And I look forward to having the same relationship with you. So, Josh, thanks for taking time to join us today. And any final thoughts?
No, I just thank you, Ryan, for the opportunity to come on and share. And, thanks to the guys that have been around for a while that, have shared with me, because I've only been doing this for a few months. So, I wouldn't know what I know if guys like Scott and Neil hadn't been willing to, drop some knowledge on me. So
absolutely, giver's gain. That's what we're all benefiting from. So, all right, thanks, Josh. I appreciate it, and have a great day.
All right, Ryan, take care.